Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome one again. I have in the studio the delightful, redoubtable Karen Bashford, an intuitive empowerment mentor who is busy trying to create experiences far afield for others, particularly focusing on Egypt. I believe we've got one not in October coming up. When's the one that's got the most interest?
The one in February, surprisingly enough, has got the most interest, possibly because energetically, October is a month where there's a lot of shifts going on, so people are more cautious. But February is the month of love, and this is all about loving yourself.
Right. As they say, shift happens.
Yes.
Anyway, but today we're not really talking about that. I thought I'd mention it right at the start, but what we're talking about is something that seems to beleaguer a lot of people. They find themselves perhaps in a position where they should be moving forward. Everything's in the right place, but they just can't quite get themselves going. So today's topic is motivation, and perhaps how we can somehow get that going again, that mojo going. And is that right?
Basically, and it's understanding what triggers those feelings of lack of motivation, of the procrastination that kicks in. And I've been very good at doing that.
Well, yes, I think both of us could get gold stars for procrastination. I remember looking at a screen thinking I should edit this video, but do you know what? There's a ham sandwich downstairs with my name on it. Yes, quite right. It seems to manifest whether or not you're a positive person, a negative person, whether or not you have, you are ambitious. I've seen it happen in incredibly driven, ambitious people. They sometimes hit that sort of brick wall where they feel they've got to stop and everything comes to a halt until they can get through the other side of it. It doesn't seem very fair.
But then we are human, we have emotions, and lack of motivation is usually down to the fact there is something going on emotionally for you that needs to be addressed.
Right. So are you saying it may be nothing to do with the job that you've got that you're procrastinating doing? It may be something else that you haven't resolved yet.
It can be the job you're doing, you don't really want to do it. That can cause procrastination. But at the end of the day, with clients I've worked with and with my own experiences, I know that my emotions will have an impact on how I get things done. Because if you're not feeling happy, or like you've been going through grief, or there's something that's unsettled you, you're not going to have the energy or desire to face something that you know needs to be done, but actually you don't really want to do it because there's no reason for you to do it, because you're not dealing with the issues that you're facing.
It just seems that you can meet. I mean, I've seen this myself. Motoring along, you're really enjoying what you're doing. You're passionate about your future, and yet something comes along, maybe derails you temporarily, and then for that moment onwards, you feel unable to push forward. Are there techniques that one can apply to try and lift one out of that mode, get one out of that self-imposed rut?
Certainly. As you well know, I very much believe in asking the body, because the body will tell you, because that's your second brain. You want to be asking, what food have I put in myself? What food am I seeking? Because that's often an indicator, because when we're procrastinating, when something's upset us, we will go comfort eat.
Yes. Yes.
So that would tell you and indicate clearly you're not dealing with your emotions. So you've got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself questions as to what has caused your emotions to become unbalanced. Now, for me, the loss of my mother in May, I thought I was dealing with it wonderfully well. But my body was actually saying to me, no, you aren't, because you're totally out of balance with the vitamins and minerals you need to cope with the stress you're going through with the grief.
Right.
Like understanding how your body responds to stress due to situations, in my case, grief. In other people's cases, it could be a loss of a job or worrying about finances, anything like that, anything that's going to trigger a stress level increase, which is usually emotional reaction to something. And we can say we're fine, we're fine, we're fine, but actually you're procrastinating because you're not fine.
So the procrastination is in many ways an indicator.
Very much so. Very much so.
Okay. And are there steps that we can do to kind of investigate oneself to see whether or not there are things that we need to resolve before it gets to the point? The important job is looming, and yet there we are sitting there flicking through, television schedules.
You can start looking at what's been happening in your life previously. It can be a couple of days. It can, for my case, it was May, and we're now in August, September. As I say, thought I was doing great. Yeah, I was just getting on and doing things, but actually there was things I was doing that was clearly indicating that I was procrastinating. I was avoiding doing things that I knew I needed to do. That's, it's the start of things like that where you're supposed to be doing something, but you're just looking at it and thinking, I don't really want to be doing it.
But here's the thing. There have been times where it's like one of my most favorite things in the world to do. I love editing video. It's great fun. It's almost a relaxation for me. And yet there I was putting it off and just staring at my fingers and doing nothing rather than do it. And I just couldn't get myself beyond it. I mean, eventually I had a drink of water. I went, actually, do you know what I did? I took my shoes off and my socks off, and I went and walked out into the garden and stood in the grass for a bit. I remember you told me once before that sometimes grounding yourself with direct contact to the ground, and it made all the difference. I came back in with a renewed fervor and I got on with it. But and looking back, I really enjoyed getting on with it. But I had to kind of interrupt the routine.
Well, that's an indicator that something's wrong. If you're sensing that you're not getting things done, you can try all kinds of things. As I say, looking back at what's happened, how are you feeling emotionally? Quite often I would be sitting there feeling quite tearful, but not able to cry. So I acknowledged that I was feeling like that, but it made no difference until I actually cried or gave myself an opportunity to just sit and wallow. But only for a short time frame.
Well, that's the problem. That stuff can be very addictive,
Yes.
You end up being hippo-like, splashing mud over yourself and going, well, I could get out, but I'm not going out.
Yeah. Oh, go and find something else to do. Stop looking at your screen. Stop thinking you've got to do something and just go and do something different. You chose to go and stand on the grass and just ground yourself.
Oh, I felt so much better for it. I
go
cannot
into
tell you.
nature. Chat to somebody. Go and cuddle an animal. Anything that takes you out of what you think you should be doing.
Right.
That will start to allow you to actually acknowledge how you're really feeling, because half the time we don't even acknowledge what we're feeling.
Do you know what? It's true. I think probably because life seems to run at such a pace that we don't feel like we've got time to acknowledge, because by acknowledging you have to do something about it. So yeah.
But the thing about it is, if you actually take the time to look after yourself, you shift your energy so you become motivated again. So actually, are you wasting more time not dealing with the issue than you are actually dealing with the issue?
Yes,
getting on with things?
You're probably right. It's I don't know. Is it harder the older you get to 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 to, to put the coals in the fire and get you fired up, ready to take on that new thing?
The
Do you
thing
think?
about being older is we have this history of things
Certainly.
that happened in our lives, and we still hold on to the emotional energies unless we've actually dealt with them. If we haven't dealt with them, they will come back and bite us because
Right.
something will happen in our lives that trigger the emotional reaction, the memory, whether it's an actual memory or whether it's just a stored emotional energy, it will trigger. And consequently, it's like, oh, I can't be bothered. Don't want to do this. That's
Yeah.
what happens because you're triggering a memory. That's why we need to be in a place where we're prepared to face reality and acknowledge that doesn't matter how busy I am, if I am not doing something, there is something out of balance within my body and mind.
Are there steps we can take on like a daily basis to try and prevent us getting to that state where we hit the brick wall?
Personally, every morning I set an intention for the day. That really seems to motivate. I also have an agreement with myself that says that if I start to feel something's out of balance, like I start feeling emotional, or
Right.
it's I'm looking at something and thinking, I really don't want to be doing you. I then have a conversation with myself and ask questions. What is it that I need to know?
Well, you're looking in the mirror or something and saying, "Hey, Karen."
Yeah, you can do look in the mirror. I literally can just sit now and just say to myself, what do I need to know? What am I ignoring that needs to be addressed? Because with that intention in place, my day should just flow. Because my intention is to just allow everything to be as it needs to be and it for all to happen in its own timing. If something's not happening in what I feel I should be doing,
Yes.
no, let's rephrase that. That needs to be done rather than should be done.
Right.
I know that there's something going on within myself that I need to just acknowledge and deal with. And then once I've dealt with it, I can just get going again.
Does it vary for different people at different stages in their life? This motivation drop.
We all have life situations that have an impact on us. Everyone is individual. Everyone's dealing with stress differently. Everyone lives differently. So it's getting to know yourself that matters more than anything else. Once I got to know myself, I could recognize the signs were starting to appear. It was like, oh, I want something to eat. You're not hungry. Why are you eating? So that was a clear indicator that something was definitely out of balance within me. The lack of exercise. I adore exercise, but some days I sit there and think, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. And yet I love it. So there's still something going on within me emotionally that I needed to address. Or perhaps I wasn't giving myself that opportunity. I was feeling that there's so much I had to do that exercise was sacrificed to be able to do what I had to do. Because
But
that's what we do. If we decide we don't have enough time, we sacrifice something that is good for us rather than something that could be delayed.
but feeling a loss of motivation doesn't make you a bad person, does
Of
it?
course not. Why would it? You're human. You will have emotions. You'll never be 100% positive. You can't. It's physically impossible.
Okay.
I'd like to meet the person who is.
Well, yes, but that would be drugs, wouldn't it? Look, here,
No
well,
comments.
yes, exactly. The, the thing is, in this over medicated world that we live in, sometimes I just feel I need to stop. That it's all a bit much. that so much continuous noise, a barrage of communication, emails right, left, and center, notifications, WhatsApps, God knows what else, and you're thinking, I just don't want to do any of it. I want to say sort of a blanket no, and then that stops you from moving forward, and then that kind of seems to have that knock-on effect. Well, if I can't move forward, why should I move forward with anything? And then you're back in that muddy pit again.
Well, if you feel like that, I would suggest that you seek some help and have a conversation with somebody, because that would clearly indicate that there's something going on in your life that is really impacting you mentally and emotionally. If you reach that point, you need help, whether it's a close friend, a confidant, or something like that. I'm always open for a conversation, simply because having been in that place where it's like, I just don't want to do anything, I can't get going, I know, I fully understand what it's like. But sometimes you just need to have a conversation. Go and talk to a tree. You never know.
And that one time it answers back, that's when we know we've definitely ascended to the next level. As you can see, guys, I've put a Karen Bashford link down the bottom. Please, if you feel like you need to talk to someone, that perhaps you want that extra boost, I would say start your conversation with Karen anyway. You may find that she's got some ideas that you can put into place, or maybe through a couple of sessions with her, that you can find your way back to your normal upbeat, positive motivation. Or if you're a kind of person who feels they have been undermotivated for a period of time, she may help you explore and find out what's at the root cause of that. Because then, if you can remove that blockage, logically you'll become motivated again. Once again, thank you so much, Karen. Every day's a learning day, and I'm proud to call Karen a friend, and she has been there for me a couple of times when I've needed it. I think if I can take an overall thing from this show today, I would say is, don't be frightened of talking to a friend, because sometimes just that will help you get to that next level. Just even without a solution at the end of it, just talking about stuff, vocalizing it. I know a lot of men out there struggle with doing that sort of thing, and women, dare I say it, struggle doing that sort of thing. They feel they should be, strong enough to take care of it. They're nurturing everybody else. They don't need to nurture themselves. Well, I think they need to talk to a friend. And Karen, thank you for being there for me. And also, more importantly, I would say, remember, Karen is on a wellness journey herself, and she wants to share that with you. And part of that is going to be this retreat in February in Egypt. I know I keep banging on about it, but I think it's important. Girls, ladies, women, if you find that you want to just recenter yourself, find a way back to loving yourself, this could be the very thing. Watch out. We're going to be posting more about that in the near future on LinkedIn. But in the meantime, if you just want to have a conversation about that or anything else to do with ongoing empowerment and mentoring, but please, Karen Bashford is KarenBashford.com. Start the discussion, and let's start your wellness journey. Until the next time, thank you, all you guys who popped in there. I saw you pop in at the beginning. Thanks a lot. And all of you, please just keep your feet on the ground, but keep reaching for the stars. You got this. And have yourself a wonderful weekend. Bye bye now.
Bye.